Skip Benton with Coldwell Banker Select Real Estate is bringing you today's deep dive where we are discussing the costs to live in the nation's largest cities. If you are looking to purchase your forever home in Northern Nevada, then contact Skip. All right, so today we are diving headfirst into this report by Creditnews Research, and it really flips the script on what it actually costs to live in major U.S. cities. We always hear about the Consumer Price Index.
Right.
But this report goes way beyond that. It digs deep into what they call living income.
Yeah, it's a fascinating approach. It really gets to the heart of what families need to earn to not just survive, but to actually thrive.
Okay, so let's break down this whole living income concept.
Yeah.
So they've identified 8 basic need categories. These go beyond just the bare minimum. We're talking childcare, civic engagement,
Yeah.
food, healthcare, housing, internet and mobile, transportation, and other necessities.
And by analyzing all these categories in over 100 cities, the report paints a pretty stark picture of the affordability crisis in America.
Okay, so let's get to the numbers. I was blown away by some of the findings in this report, especially when they reveal that 85 of the top 100 most expensive cities require a family income over $100,000 per year
Wow.
just to cover these basic needs. Nationwide, it's just under $75,000.
Yeah, that's a huge difference.
That's a huge difference.
It really highlights the vast disparities, in cost of living across the U.S. It also begs the question, what factors are driving these differences?
Well, I'm guessing geography plays a big role.
Absolutely. The research actually found a heavy concentration of these high-cost areas along the West Coast and the Northeast. And in these regions, families are looking at needing, upwards of $140,000 annually, sometimes even more.
Wow.
It's more than double the national average in some cases.
It's crazy how much location can impact your finances. And let's not forget about the differences between single adults and families.
Right. The research shows that families typically need about 2.5 times more income than single adults to meet those same basic needs in the same city.
So let's put this into perspective for our listeners. The report highlights San Jose, California as the most expensive city. And get this, a family of 4 needs over $167,000 annually just to get by there. On the flip side, in McAllen, Texas, the least expensive city, that same family could manage on about $87,000. Are we even talking about the same country here?
It's a stark contrast, and it really underscores just how dramatically the cost of living can vary. And these aren't just abstract numbers, These figures have real implications for individuals and families trying to make ends meet.
So we've got these two extremes, San Jose and McAllen. But what about the cities in between?
That's where things get really interesting. The report breaks down the living income for over 100 cities so you can see where your city stacks up. And it's not just about the overall cost. They actually delve into those 8 essential need categories.
When we talk about these high costs, I think most people immediately jump to housing. But what surprised me is how much childcare factored into these calculations.
Oh, you're right. Childcare costs can be astronomical, especially in those high-cost cities on the coasts. Like in San Francisco, for example, the average annual cost of childcare is over $25,000 per year.
Wow.
That's a huge chunk of change.
Yeah.
And it's no wonder families are struggling.
And it's not just about the financial burden. Think about the impact on families who might have to sacrifice career opportunities or make difficult choices about their children's care because of these costs.
Absolutely. It creates this ripple effect that impacts everything from workforce participation to educational outcomes. It really underscores the need for, more affordable childcare options, especially in cities where the cost of living is already so high.
So we've talked about the expensive coastal cities, but what about those more affordable areas? Are there any hidden gems out there where you can have a good quality of life without emptying your bank account every month?
There are definitely some interesting options. The report highlights cities like El Paso, Texas, and Jackson, Mississippi as having significantly lower living costs compared to the national average. These cities offer, a more affordable lifestyle without sacrificing amenities or opportunities.
That's great news for people who might be considering a move or just looking for a more balanced lifestyle. But I imagine even in those more affordable areas, there are still challenges, right?
Of course. Every city has its own unique set of pros and cons. In some of these more affordable cities, you might see lower wages or fewer job opportunities compared to those bustling metropolises. It's all about weighing your priorities and figuring out what trade-offs you're willing to make.
It sounds like this report gives people the information they need to make those informed decisions, whether they're thinking about relocating, negotiating a salary, or just understanding the economic realities of different cities.
Exactly. It empowers individuals and families to make choices that align with their values and financial goals. But it also goes beyond individual decisions. This data can be a powerful tool for policymakers and community leaders.
Oh, I see what you're getting at. If we have this clear picture of where the affordability gaps are, we can start to implement solutions.
Precisely. Think about policies like affordable housing initiatives, expanded access to childcare, or even living wages tied to the actual cost of living in a specific area. These are all strategies that can make a real difference in people's lives.
It's like taking that raw data and turning it into action. And that's what we need, right? Not just talking about the problem, but actually doing something to address it.
Absolutely. It's about using this information to spark real change and create a more equitable future where everyone has the opportunity to thrive regardless of where they live.
It feels like we've only just scratched the surface. I mean, there's so much data to unpack in this report. It really gets you thinking about the bigger picture.
It certainly does. What I find most compelling about this research is that it doesn't just present the numbers. It prompts us to ask these crucial questions about economic fairness and social responsibility.
It makes you wonder, what if we could use this data to actually, shift the narrative? Instead of accepting these vast disparities as just the norm, what if we started demanding solutions that actually make life more affordable for everyone?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Imagine a world where policies and resources were designed to actually bridge these affordability gaps. We could see things like expanded access to affordable housing, subsidized childcare options, and even tax structures that actually take into account the real cost of living in different regions.
And think about the potential impact on families and communities. If people weren't constantly struggling to make ends meet, they could invest more in their education or their health and their overall well-being.
It could lead to a more vibrant and resilient society where, everyone has the opportunity to reach their full potential.
So what can our listeners do with this information? It's easy to feel overwhelmed by these big systemic issues.
Yeah, you're right. It can feel daunting. But even small actions can make a difference. Start by engaging in conversations about these issues with your friends, family, your colleagues. Advocate for policies that support affordable housing and accessible childcare in your community.
And don't underestimate the power of informed decision-making. Whether you're considering a move or negotiating a salary or simply making choices about your budget, this research can help you navigate the financial landscape more effectively.
Ultimately, it's about empowering ourselves with knowledge and using it to create a more just and equitable society.
Well said. I think that's a perfect note to end on. A huge thank you to Skip Benton with Coldwell Banker Select Real Estate for bringing us today's deep dive. If you are looking to purchase your forever home in northern Nevada, then contact Skip.